Hello, Soul Family.
Hey, beautiful people.
We're back again. Um, Today we are talking about something that's been a theme in our lives on this journey. Um, as with all the other videos that we've done before, we just talk about the things that we go through and then we decipher them and then we're like, oh, maybe we should share.
Yes,
So today is another one of those videos.
yes. The purpose of conflict, and that's really a theme all over the world, I think. And it's a everyday hustle, if you want to call it like that. It can be very confrontating and painful if we do not understand what conflict really means. So, what is conflict? Conflict starts with triggers, and both parties need to be triggered before a conflict appears. Um, yeah, what is conflict is really an opportunity to grow, um, instead of denying it or walking away from it. It's best to go through them because a conflict is really where two parties are not on the same level and think differently about the situations at hand, and that can be triggering. Do you want to say something about it?
Um, no.
Oh, that's it now.
hmm
So yeah, conflict. So what I told you is like it's really an opportunity to grow beyond the trigger. So what does conflicts want to teach us? Um, as we told you before, um, a lot starts from within, or everything starts from within. And sometimes we are not ready to feel what is happening inside of us. And this is when it will turn up in our outer world. So we can see, experience, and feel what is happening inside of us. So as without, so within. And yeah, first of all, it's okay and it is safe to disagree with each other because everybody lives in their own truth. And until we are ready, we will stand tall in our own beliefs. So what does conflict want to teach us? That it's time to go inward and feel for ourselves why this is triggering us as much as it does. Yeah. And if we are not willing to listen, it can really be a pain in the ass. And when we are ignoring or avoiding the conflict, it will appear again. Same shit, different face. It doesn't matter at all. So,
Yeah. Um, I'd like to pitch in a little bit with, in the form of an example. Um, let's say that you've been in conflict with a person and you can't work it out, or you or the other person walks away from the situation. Um, it's guaranteed that it will show up again in a different form from a different person, but it will be the same theme of conflict until you resolve it.
Yes, indeed.
So to answer the question of what does conflict teach us, it teaches us that we have something to work on inside of ourselves.
Conflict starts from within.
Mm-hmm.
And conflict, in my opinion, is really head, head versus heart. This is where conflict starts. And this is really hard to acknowledge this. So, and if we are not willing to go inside, inward, then it will appear in the outer world. This is as simple as that.
Yeah. Um, and this is also something that appears in menstruality. When you start paying attention to your cycle, and once you learn about your inner seasons and how they work, you might recognize that within our menstrual cycle, the same thing happens. And usually, this is during what they call the premenstrual phase. And a lot of people call the irritations or the annoyances that arise during the premenstrual phase, they call it PMS, premenstrual syndrome, or they blame it on that time of the month. But really, what they are markers for you as a woman to recognize that there is something that appears in your menstrual cycle each month that is there for you to release. And usually, the bleed, which is inner winter, is the time for that release. And if you bring light to the situation in autumn, so in your premenstrual phase, and approach it with love and curiosity, that you will see that it will go away. And that's all it wants from you. It wants you to release the inner conflict or the conflict that you have with someone outside or in your relationship or whatever it may be. And they just want, or the trigger, the conflict wants you to release it so that you can create space for the beauty that is within the inner autumn, and that is creativity. When you make space for all kind of negative things to go away, and when you accept that you will release that during your bleed, it will become very easy for you to get creative. It clears your mind and you get sky blue thinking. But you have to do the work first. If you don't do the work, it will just reappear and reappear every month. And it's the same in walking life
Yes,
with conflict. If you don't resolve it, it comes back.
yes, indeed. So what does conflict want us to teach? Is that some truths we are denying for self will appear in our outer worlds until we are ready to go within and take responsibility for our own feelings and triggers.
Absolutely.
What will happen when you avoid conflict?
It's like we said, the pattern will repeat itself. And most of us reach a point in our awareness that we're like, okay, hold on, this thing has been happening to me for so long. Why does it keep on happening to me? And for a lot of us, that is the point to ask ourselves the question, what is this trying to teach me?
Yes.
And as soon as you switch the focus to that kind of curiosity, like to be truly curious about what's going on within yourself, that is the moment that you recognize where change is, or where peace is, or where flow is.
But we need to listen to the calling of our souls, though, because if we are avoiding it, it can get worse and worse until we let it go and go within.
Yep.
And yeah, that's the hard part, because it's easy to blame other people for the feelings that we are feeling. But is that the truth?
Mm.
Or is the feeling that we are feeling our feeling, and thus nobody else feels what we are feeling? I told this before in another film.
Can I ask you, how do you listen to the voice of your soul?
To get in tune again, because when conflict appears, we are most likely out of tune and pointing fingers and blaming the other party for what's happening within us. So you have different tools like breathing exercises, building like a daily ritual to stay in tune with ourselves. One of the easiest exercises we have found is like one hand above your chakra centers and one underneath, and
On
breathe
the
into
in
the
breath?
nose and release at the heart center. And if you will do that like 3 times, you will release the anger, the pain, the frustration
In that moment.
in that moment, because that's also a very important message. Because where are you when you are in conflict?
And where are you when you're curious about yourself?
Yes.
So when you notice that you're here, you can literally drag the energy back down into your heart and listen. Take a moment to really listen and to breathe and to feel. And that will bring you back into your heart space.
Hmm. And another thing is also uh, important, because when the conflict appears, like is the feeling of that we are attacked by the other person, and this is where we take it personal. But yeah, isn't conflict necessary for growth? And until we heal ourselves, conflict will appear. It's as easy as that.
And even when we are healed, conflict will still appear. But the thing is, the more you practice um, dissolving conflict and moving into your heart space, the easier it will get for you to deal with conflict when it arises again. Because conflict is a necessary part of our healing and it's inevitable. You can't avoid conflict. Well, you can, but you know what happens when you do.
We will get worse and worse.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, what happens when you do accept the challenge?
You will not, uh, your emotions will not take over the situation. So if you stay in your heart center, you still will feel the pain and feel the conflict within, but the finger pointing and blaming will stop, because you will realize it was me all along.
Mm.
So it's, yeah, really a challenge, and it is also not always a mirror, because there can be individual lessons from both parties, but still the same conflict is needed for both parties to learn their own behavior, to
Yep.
learn from their own behavior. So yeah, curiosity toward self is important.
And that way, the outcome of the conflict with the other person isn't as important as the outcome for you and
What
your
happens
relationship
within?
with self. So if you decide to challenge a conflict, one thing I found is if I do it, if I approach a conflict situation, I do it for me. I don't do it for the other person. I don't do it to get a result from it other than outing what is inside of me,
Yeah, there's something
giving it a
very
voice.
important. It's like there's no good nor wrong. Like it's we are living in our own truth. So like persuading someone to follow our belief system is like an illusion
Yeah.
because we are all in our own process from different perspectives. And if you're gonna put energy in that, you're gonna lose yourself.
So always stay close to you.
And understand the one you are trying to convince is yourself.
Yeah. And another thing you'll notice as well if you do accept the challenge is how much power it actually gives you to deal with confrontation, because you, first of all, you learn that everything without is also within, and you will see that. It will become very, very clear to you. And also, it will bring you so much peace. And you'll notice that it takes you a lot less energy to speak your truth than it does to actually try and convince the other person. Because who's to say that they will get there? All you have to do is plant your seed of truth. And that is
Yes,
to just be who you are and nothing more, nothing less.
true.
Right?
And everybody takes their own time
Yeah.
for learning the same lessons or different lessons.
Mm-hmm.
That's not up to us. The only responsibility we can take is for ourselves. And this is where it all starts.
Yeah.
And this is where it all ends also.
Yes. Um, Another important thing to understand about conflict is that for a lot of us, when we were children, um, we usually had to conform to, what our parents wanted from us, what the teachers wanted from us, and especially the generation that we're from. Um, that was a real thing. Like, people were pushing their own beliefs onto us, and because of that, we've disconnected from our truth. And it all makes sense that we, feel attacked when somebody is trying to convince us of something that our hearts don't agree with. Um, but the reason that it is so difficult for us to actually accept that somebody has a different opinion from yours, especially in family relationships, in romantic relationships, and in friendships, it's really hard to really say how you feel because you don't want the other person to feel like you're not on their side, or that you don't agree with them because you're afraid you're going to lose them. And we understand that. We understand that. However, it'll become more clear to you who is and who isn't for you and for your soul's purpose when you start practicing uh, preaching your truth.
Yes. And yeah, again, the one that you are convincing of your truth is yourself. So, isn't it time when we are in a conflict, the words we push on towards others, that we are listening what we are saying to ourselves?
Mm-hmm. And that is that part. That's another theme that's been going on the last few weeks. That's a part of practice what you preach. Often we give other people advice that we know that we need, and then we don't follow our own advice. Um, but our voice, you can trust your own voice as well. You can trust your own truth. If it's good enough for someone else, best believe it's amazing for you.
This is why conflict also appears,
Yeah.
so we can grow in our own truth, so we can trust our heart space more and more every day.
Yeah, and another thing it does for you as well is it strengthens your intuition. The more you stand in your truth, the more you will learn what the voice of your intuition really is.
Yes.
And it's a very subtle voice, but you have to practice speaking your truth, otherwise, you won't be able to hear it. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So definitely embrace the power of asking yourself questions. Just like when you were a child and you were figuring out the world, you would ask a lot of questions. Keep doing that, because if you're not asking questions, you're filling in a lot of things for yourself, for other people that might not and usually are not true. Like, for example, you want to say something to someone that's been on your heart for a while, but the reason you're not saying it is because you're afraid of what the other person is going to feel, think, say, do. But
Yes.
who's to say that that is the truth?
And this is a part where we can really learn a lot of children. Because when they don't want it, they say, no, no, I'm not gonna play with you
No.
today. No, I'm gonna play with him, and they don't care if the other child likes it or not. They choose themselves.
Hmm.
So this is also a calling for us to accept our inner child again, embrace the power of asking questions, about saying no or yes when we want to listen to what our hearts wants from us,
Yeah.
instead of um, yeah, thinking about the other person in the conflict.
Hmm. Yeah. And it's easier said than done.
Yes.
And we get that too. It is a process. But like we said before, the more you practice it, the easier it gets. We among each other have conflict between each other, but we don't even see it that way anymore. It's just like, oh, listen,
Yeah.
something's up. You want to talk about it? I feel this, that, and the other. And then the other goes, I feel that, that, and the other.
Yeah.
We talk about it, and then poof, we move on.
We let it go, because this is also a very important one. Avoid getting caught up in conflict, because this is how you get disconnected from yourself. This will shut your heart down and will keep you in your head. If you just keep thinking about the conflict, it happened, yes, it happened, boom, pots, yes, let it go.
Yeah. And also, a lot of us, even before we challenge the conflict, we are repeating over and over in our heads, like, the conversations that we really want to have with this person, and then we fill in what they're going to say. You do this, I know I do this. You have the discussion before you even have the discussion, and then you decide on the outcome, and then the outcome makes you feel fearful, and then because it makes you feel fearful, you don't challenge the situation, and it just stays
In our
up
heads.
here. It
Yes.
just stays up there. Bring it down and feel, what is it that I really want to say to this person? And how will that make me feel afterwards? And hopefully, we've explained it properly to you, what happens when you do challenge it. The fact that you're speaking your truth is already freeing enough. And the outcome of it does not matter. You do not have control over the outcome.
Yeah.
So don't try and fill it in, because you're driving yourself mad.
You have control over your own outcome, though. This is what you have.
Yep.
Really.
And that's why it is important to ask yourself, how do I want to feel? How will I feel after I say this or do this?
So it doesn't matter if the other party is not willing to hear what you say or trying to avoid it. Speak your truth and let it go. Because otherwise, if you are not speaking your truth, you will keep the energy bottled inside of you, and tension will grow there, and stress will appear, and it goes from worse to worse.
Yeah.
So speaking your truth is very important.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think I feel that we've come to the end of this
yeah, this was it.
video.
Yeah.
Um,
First of all, we wanted to thank you all for listening and take your time for this video. We appreciate it a lot.
your responses mean everything to us.
Yes.
It's so nice to hear and know that the processes that we personally go through resonate with your own processes. And if at any point you feel on your spiritual journey that you might be stuck or you feel that there are some serious blockages going on, know that we offer services
Yes.
that can help you with this. We do spiritual counseling, also relationship counseling, and relationship counseling is for couples as well as you as an individual. We can also talk about your relationship with yourself because that's where it all stems from.
Every relationship starts with self.
Yeah. And also menstruality counseling for any issues that or repeating patterns that you might notice regarding what we've just talked about, but anything regarding the menstrual cycle, period. I can
Reiki,
help you
yeah.
with, yeah.
Reiki healing, distance Reiki healing. Are you in the neighborhood of Portugal, Ericeira area? Then it can be
Done.
done here.
Yeah.
And angelic healing with activations.
I host workshops here. I also host women's circles every 2 weeks. And yeah, it's open, it's free for any woman who feels isolated, who feels like they could use some support, who feels like they want to talk to like-minded individuals. It's the place to be. And we've also got the men's circles, of course.
Yes, it is. That is now in Dutch, but in the near future, I want to create a English one also, because I'm open for all demand, and it's time to grow in that also. So that will be really soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and don't get bothered by contacting us, because we love you to speak your truth.
Yeah.
So please share, and you can follow us on Instagram, Touching Lives.
Create space,
Create
touching
space,
lives.
touching lives.
One word.
Instagram or Facebook or YouTube. So
Yeah.
please
Subscribe.
subscribe.
Yeah.
Please subscribe and like. And if you love the video, then please share also. You would love that.
Yeah. Stay in touch with
Yeah.
yourself and with us.
Yes.
We love you so much,
Yes.
and we'll see you very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.